Next slide. Girls are attracted to contrast. The bodybuilding guy with a large library, the IT guy who races motorcycles on weekends, the gamer guy who's also a local actor. Even if you don't have a contrasting hobby or pursuit, you should find one. Again, this is one of those subtle things that pays off huge dividends. When you surprise girls, girls are pretty bored and they're boring, but they're pretty bored because most guys are pretty easy to read. He works, in a warehouse. He drives a beater. He doesn't really know what he wants to do. And when he's not working, he's gaming 23 hours a day and eating like shit. It's your average guy. And you think that that's the exception. That's actually the vast majority of men are not ambitious. They eat like shit. They've never been in the gym. They've never they're never going to exercise. And they're just kind of like going through life. But if you have your shit together, you're going to be heads above, even though they'll never act like that. Girls will never give you any credit for this. But there are things that you can do to make yourself more attractive. You can use contrast. Again, you don't want to be, some guys are all in. They're like a stereotype, but that's okay. But again, if you can contrast, if you can find something to contrast to your primary identity, like the bodybuilding guy that actually reads. And that's one weird thing, because I have bookshelves, and girls always would stop and look. And I guess it's an unusual thing to see books in an apartment for most guys. I mean, a lot of guys, once they graduate high school or college, they never open another book as long as they live. And before the internet came along, there were many guys that never wrote another sentence ever again. But you kind of have to now if you're texting. But a lot of guys never picked up a pen or ever typed anything in anywhere after school was done. And their intent was to never open another book or read another word ever again if they could help it. But any type of contrast will make you more attractive. It's bodybuilding guy with a large library, the IT guy, and I know there's a lot of tech guys, just because there's a lot more tech guys here. If you can find a more adventurous, motorcycling is good, cycling, mountain biking, anything out and about, anything active will give you credibility, and it's probably good for your brain as much. The gamer guy who also is an actor, or the gamer guy that also pursues something very physical. Again, it's going to help with your game, because anytime you exercise, your brain works better. Again, there's always a benefit to having a contrasting pursuit. It kind of balances your brain out and your body. But even if you don't have a contrasting hobby or pursuit, it's good to go find one. Fort Worth, you like art? Dang, I would have never guessed. Yeah, you gotta have some contrasting things. Again, and that's the deal. I mean, Stan the Milkman says, and climbs walls. And you have to know what works for you. Again, IT guys, there's a wall climbing gym just literally downstairs from my apartment. But it's always busy. It's always busy with men and women under 40, I've noticed. I mean, it's a younger crowd. I guess if you drop from 15 or 20 feet up, anything after 40 usually tend to break something when you hit. But again, it's a wall climbing gym, bouldering gym. And it's always busy, and it's probably not a bad place to meet chicks. So, they also have yoga. So you have the right mix of girls there. Again, if you're more cerebral, it never hurts to have something like that. And again, as you get a little bit older and you get a little bit more money, sometimes getting into art, either be sculpture or painting or just supporting, because a lot of girls do like to paint. Bunny loves to paint. She's very talented. And it's when she has time, when she's not working on 3 businesses. And her daughter also paints. You want to at least be able to recognize and support these things of those people are around you, and maybe at least have some semblance of recognition of it. And you can always support it with your money at the end of the day. Supplies are not cheap. So that's a real deal. And that's all I can really convey. This is a very individualized thing, because you got to know what your strengths are and then find a contrasting supporting hobby or pursuit. And it never hurts mentally. But again, Don't hide it. You have it out there. And I've used music a lot. And it's funny because a lot of musicians, you know, you want to be like the musician that is a mechanic also. Um, but musicians almost inevitably jump in here and they'll be like, it sucks. And sometimes I think it's just not been leveraged or they just didn't have luck, because I do know that it is a pursuit that a lot of guys get very good at and it pays dividends. But if you have a bad, it's like businesses. If you have a bad run, you kind of get down on it. And I've noticed that with a lot of these musicians. Yes, a nerd who actually has a sense of style is awesome. Bunny nails it. I'm so glad you